The market's uptrend continued today with the S&P closing up 0.55% at 6038.81. We saw the largest gamma exposure concentration shift the other day to the 6100 strike. That's still holding strong. You can see the 0 DTE GEX here at 6040. Most of that's going to be rolling off today. And we still continue to have large gamma exposure at the 6000 strike as well. So the uptrend is continuing. However, we've been bringing up this resistance zone between 6,000 and 6,100 the last several videos. This was a resistance level that could not be breached back earlier in the beginning of the year and at the end of last year. You can see all the times the S&P attempted to get above this level right around 6,100 to 6,150 and could not get that, ultimately rejecting down to the April 7th low. So now we've come all the way back up to this level. We're seeing gamma exposure remaining strong at these higher strikes, 6,100, 6,200. Today, we nearly got up to that 6050 level. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a little bit. But let's just zoom in here to a 15-minute chart, and you can see the granularity of the move since the end of May, basically in this trend line going right into these upper gamma exposure concentrations and right into our upper dealer cluster zone. Our upper dealer cluster zone has shifted a little bit higher over the last few days as price continues to move higher and as market participants continue to come in at higher strikes up the options chain. So as I mentioned in yesterday's video, we are maintaining hedges in our portfolios. In fact, we actually rolled a put ratio spread in one of our portfolios out to the July expiration, but we have protection basically down here in the 5,800 range and below. And so if there is a pullback and a break in this trend, let's say coming into July, we do have hedge protection, and those hedges will potentially even give us some decent gains in our portfolios. By the way, if you want to track all of our trades in real time, head on over to geeksoffinance.com. You can sign up and become a member. I'll put a link in the description below.
Thanks, Anthony. It's interesting that the dealer cluster zone shifted just a little bit with SPX, but we do still see the big GEX at 6,100. As mentioned, I'm wondering if with CPI reported tomorrow pre-market and then PPI Thursday and the 30-year bond auction, we have plenty of reasons for some sort of a short-term trend change or volatility this week. So it'll be interesting to see if we reach this 6,100 area pre-market and reverse, or maybe we even surpass that. So I feel like there's some interesting days ahead. We are still above the whole moving average, which on my chart's at 59.93. If we see price close below the whole on a daily basis, that's what I'll be watching for, a signal that we have a short-term trend change. One other quick note that I have on IWM in this case, IWM finally reached the upper dealer cluster zone at 215. In doing so, printed this indecision candle, which is sometimes seen at the top or a reversal point as well. And what I really like from a contrarian standpoint is that we finally saw all of this negative GEX that was clustered around the 200 area, it's dramatically reduced.
Thanks, Sean. I wanted to share one of our 0 DTE trade setups from the end of the day today on SPX. We were actually tracking this in one of our new 0 DTE strategy channels. And these are the type of setups that we look for on a 0 DTE basis using gamma exposure. We're able to filter the options chain for only 0 DTE contracts. Here we're looking at a 15-minute chart. This was posted at 2:38 p.m. The S&P was trading at 60.21, and we had just come into this 50-period EMA on the 15-minute chart for the third time in the past few days. Gamma exposure was showing that the 60-50 strike had been growing throughout the day, and so it looked like this was a potential support zone here after some consolidation for a speculative end-of-day run towards that 60-50 level. And if we fast forward to the end of the day, we can see exactly how this trade ended up. That ultimately did end up as support right off the 50-period EMA. And we made a run through the 60-40 strike, but a lot of our traders were able to capture that move based off of the 0 DTE GEX setup. And so we're capturing these moves using gamma exposure both on a 0 DTE basis as well as part of our larger portfolio. So if you haven't checked out our community Discord yet, I'll put a link in the description below. Check out our 0 DTE channels when you get a chance. there's really some interesting trade setups going on in there every single trading session.
Let's take a quick look at the VIX and whether or not the VIX is agreeing with what we're also seeing on the indices. I've been watching the VIX for signs of price closing above the whole moving average to signal a potential shift in momentum, and we have not yet seen that on a daily basis. So today we saw an attempt to go above it, and we saw rejection right at the 0 gamma level. So with the whole at 17.2 and the current VIX level 1695, this is still not signaling that a reversal is at hand. I do think it may be imminent, though, simply because the declining whole is almost below the price, and we may see a reversal as soon as pre-market tomorrow, just depending on what can happen. CPI and the market's reaction to that is notoriously unpredictable.
Thanks, Sean. Next, let's take a look at a couple of names that we are trading actively in our community Discord. I want to start with Tesla. Tesla up 5.67% today, closing at 326.09. We saw the big sell-off over the last several days, culminating with the Trump-Musk feud. That has bounced off of this 280 level, and we've seen a quick 15% up move since those lows down here. So really big move for Tesla. And I just wanted to take a look at the gamma exposure data for the weekly contract. So this is just looking at gamma exposure for contracts that are expiring this Friday. And look at this GEX at the 350 strike. That seems like a long ways from here, but the options market is suggesting this is a possibility by this Friday. When I look at the options chain, it's showing approximately a 23% chance of reaching this 350 level by Friday. And interestingly enough, we are seeing the gamma exposure growing at this level, as well as quite a bit of options volume. That's over 100,000 contracts, pushing 200,000 contracts traded at that 350 strike today. So there are a lot of short sellers and put buyers from the past week who are getting squeezed here, and the potential for a squeeze up to this 350 strike is very real. So that's something that we want to be watching for. And actually, this is a post from last Friday. We ended up selling the 300 puts as Tesla had crashed down below that 300 level. We sold the 300 puts last Friday for a little over $15. And if we just fast forward to the end of the day today, we closed out those puts for $4.30, locking in $4,500 profit on those short puts. And, one of the posts that we made, though, was that the move still looks good. We closed out those puts because we had collected most of the premium that was available to us in those short puts, but the GEX picture still looks strong for a further upside move. And so we're going to continue looking for entry opportunities on the long side for Tesla in the near term as we continue seeing gamma exposure at the 350 and the 400 strikes growing.
Thanks, Anthony. Let's take a look at a potentially interesting setup with Coin. You can see that it's done really well since early April, as many names have, of course. But after this period of consolidation that started in mid-May, I noticed we're finally getting to where the price is over the whole moving average. And we have this really big GEX cluster at 250. Coin's currently at just below 255. If you go to our 3D model, you can see the majority of that 265 GEX is clustered at June 13, which would be Friday, of course. So this is potentially suggesting that Coin has 10 points of upside leading into Friday. It seems that the odds favor that as a potentially good risk-reward scenario. And of course, as we first went over the technicals seem to back that as well.
And for a limited time, you can get $200 off our yearly portfolio manager tier subscription by using promo code June 2025 at checkout. We've got a few spots left on this promotion, so definitely take advantage of it while you can. Our members get access to our gamma exposure dashboard, our algorithmic trading strategies, as well as our vibrant community Discord. Our Discord community's got a ton of great traders in there sharing zero DTE setups as well as portfolio management strategies. And you can follow along and track our trades in real time as well. I'll put a link in the description below for you guys to check that out when you get a chance. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.